Hey guys, we are back with some more Salt Lake City Lakers GM mode, and we are here going into the start of the final offseason, and it's going to be a big one because we got the contracts of Shane Wright, Burakovsky, Tyler Rose all coming up, as well as you have Matt Dumba as well, and Ilya Kistov. And that's going to be the big question, as he does not want an extension. I'm thinking, honestly, that I might just tender him a qualifying offer and just see what's out there, because I haven't been the most confident with Kistov in the net. I really haven't been. So I think that's what we're going to do with Kistov. I definitely want to re-sign Wright and LaRose. I want to try to re-sign Burakovsky if possible, but he does not want an extension, so that's going to make it kind of hard, especially with his production. I feel, he's gonna want a lot, nearly 10 mil. Wright also wants 10 mil. What about LaRose? He goes from under 1 mil to 7 mil, and then of course Kistov goes from under 1 mil to almost 6 mil, but he doesn't want to re-sign, so we would have to give him more. Yeah, there's gonna be some cuts made for sure. And now shifting our focus to the awards, the Stanley Cup champions are the Ottawa Senators. As we take a look at the rest of the awards, the President's Trophy goes to the Nashville Predators, and it was Dallas versus Ottawa in the Stanley Cup Finals. Sagan wins the Art Ross. The Hart goes to Sagan for a fourth time in 5 years. Jeez. The Norris goes to Sergachev. The Lady Byng goes to Kucherov. The Calder goes to Fortin of Calgary. The Conn Smythe goes to DuPont. The Vezina goes to Forsberg. The Jennings goes to Forsberg. The Bill Masterton goes to Sloan on Vegas. Jack Adams goes to Bernier of the Rangers. The Selke goes to Pettersson. The Ted Lindsay Award goes to Sagan. So Sagan taking home a lot of hardware. And the Maurice Richard goes to Nathan McKinnon. The results of the draft lottery: the LA Kings win the first overall pick. Then the Rangers. Then New Jersey. Then Anaheim, Dallas, St. Louis, San Jose, Detroit, Chicago, Vancouver, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Washington. And then your Salt Lake City Lakers from the Montreal Canadiens pick that we traded for a while back, and Minnesota. Retired players, we have Claude Giroux, Jacob Voracek, Erik Karlsson, Max Pacioretty, Evgeny Kuznetsov, Josh Bailey, Matt Duchene, Michael Granlund, Victor Hedman, Torrey Krug, Mike Hoffman, Brock Nelson, Tyson Barrie, Kyle Turris, Tyler Johnson, Justin Falk, Zach Hyman, Riley Smith, Ryan McDonough, Dougie Hamilton, Ryan Ellis, Eric Holla, Tyler Myers, Justin Schultz, Andrew Shaw. What a big retirement year that is. And goaltender-wise, you have Carey Price, Braden Holtby, Darcy Kemper, Keith Kincaid, and Laurent Brossoit. A lot of players retiring this year. And here we go into the NHL entry draft with LA picking first overall. So let's just see what happens here as we are picking at number 14. I don't really feel any need to make any more draft picks, really, as we're heading towards the end of the GM mode, so we may as well just take whoever our scout's recommending here. Safronov, welcome to Salt Lake City. He is a 65 overall, medium top 6 sniper. Not bad. We'll make the first 3 rounds of picks, I think, and then we'll let the computer take over and just do the rest of the draft for us. So let's see now. We have Lynn Kaltiainen, and then Grumet Morris, Blacker, Reimer, Randall, Nichols. Let's just take, again, one of the recommendations, Lynn or Kaltiainen. Yeah, sure, this guy. Welcome to the Salt Lake City Lakers. He is a 61 overall, medium, top 9, two-way forward. Pick number 57 now in the second round. Make a couple more picks here, and then we'll just sim through the rest of the draft. We don't have anything on these guys, Welsh or Pete Huey. There's Mika Helmanen, who has a 2-bar low elite. Yeah, we'll take him. See what he turns out to be. A low top 6, 63 overall two-way forward center. Not bad. And pick number 89. I think this will be the last pick that we manually make, and then we'll let the computer take over. We could get the guaranteed low top 6 in Mark Reeves. He's a grinder. He's 4 years away from the NHL. He doesn't have many weaknesses, only hands. 17 years of age as well. Get another LaRose, Jaden LaRose. Yeah, Arthur Halpern. I think we might just take the guaranteed low top 6 in Mark Reeves here. Yeah, we don't really need any more prospect forwards. as far as offense goes, but we could use a couple of defensive forwards. So let's get Mark Reeves here. Welcome to Salt Lake City. He is a 61 overall, low top 6. Very nice. And let's just simply, let's auto draft the rest. Didn't want to spend forever on this. After all, this is the final offseason, and I don't think any of these guys are going to be playing for us anyway. So welcome to the Salt Lake City Lakers. Safronov, Kaltiainen, Helmanen, Reeves, Zykov, Mickelson, and Kubina. So starting out with UFA skaters here. Burakovsky, he does not want to re-sign, and he unfortunately just wants way too much, 9.4. I don't think we're going to be able to offer him. Dumba, I would like to bring him back. He wants to come back. He wants 8.3. How much was he making last year? 8.0. Let's see if we could get him for a 2-year deal for 8 mil. Just basically what he was making before. If he'll take that, then I will definitely take him back on my team. If not, then we may have to release him. Merkley, I would like to get him signed. How much was he making before? 2.8. And how much does he want now? He wants 5.1. 27 points last year. If we could get him going, then he could definitely be a valuable asset. And it's not like we're going to find too many better offensive defensemen in free agency anyway. And besides, when you look at free agency, most of the time you'll see defensemen who are 82, 81 overall asking for the same amount of money. So we may as well just give this to Merkley, except not 4 years. I'm going to give him 2 years, and I'll take him up to 4.9. See what he says about that. JT Miller, I would like to sign as well. He had a pretty good year there on the third line. He had a pretty good giveaway ratio, 95 hits. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as he doesn't want too much in the way of money, he only wants 1.7, so he is certainly worth re-signing in my book. He had a few playoff goals there as well. Broberg does not want to re-sign, so we may as well just release him. He was our 7th defenseman anyway. De La Rose, he actually had a really good season there on the fourth line, 29 points, and he had 47 takeaways to 29 giveaways, 107 hits. So yeah, absolutely. I'll re-sign De La Rose. He wants 2.1 for 2 years. I'll give you a 1 year, 2.1. Now, RFA skaters, we have Wright, LaRose. LaRose, unfortunately, dropped down to an 84 overall. So I think that 87 might have been the past season performance or something. I don't know. I don't know where that 87 came from. But now he's unfortunately down to an 84. Naslund, he does not want to re-sign. How much does he want? 1.3. That might be doable. Atkinson does not want to re-sign either. And these are all doable contracts. LaRose wants 5.1. Now, Wright wants 10.5. Yeah, I want to get him out of the way before anyone else. Yeah, we may as well just give him 6 years last year anyway. So we'll take him down to, I would say 9.75 would be a good amount for him. Offer a contract to him. And let's see now. Goaltenders, yeah, Kistov and Strachan. Then you have Dostal as well. I wouldn't mind bringing Dostal back. He was pretty solid. But then again, we do have to kind of save every little bit we can. And I want to see if there's another goaltender out there in free agency, so we'll release him for right now. As far as Strachan goes, we could probably disqualify him. But for Kistov, I think I'm going to qualify him as well. He only wants 5.5, but again, I want to see what's out there in free agency because I think he's one of those goaltenders who's just going to be inconsistent throughout his career. We'll qualify him and Strachan on the last day of the re-sign stage, as well as I think LaRose. I want to get LaRose out of the way now before he has to go to free agency, but I want to make sure that Wright is signed first. So we're going to advance today and see who signs. Dumba has re-signed, very nice. De La Rose re-signs. Miller has not re-signed. Brookbank, Walensky, Wright has not re-signed. Merkley resigns. Clark, Johnson, Tierney, Enroth, a bunch of prospects, Markkinen, Barry. All these guys are still unsigned. Wright, LaRose, Naslund, and Atkinson. How about UFAs? He's still got Burakovsky and Miller. And then in goal, of course, Kistov and Strachan. We are left with 18.8. I want to try to re-sign Miller if we can. We'll just give him exactly what he wants now, 1.7 for 1 year. If he doesn't accept that, I'll take him up a little bit more. I'd be willing to go up to, I would say 2 mil for JT Miller. He's pretty good. He was very serviceable third liner last year. And Burakovsky, I don't want to wait on him until we can get Wright signed. And then we need to sign LaRose as well. Yeah, we're not going to be able to sign Burakovsky. There's no way. So we'll just give Wright What did we give him before? 9.75. I'll go down to 10 mil for him now for 6 years. I don't want to mess around with Wright too much. And as far as LaRose goes, yeah, it's going to be tight. It's going to be a real tight fit if we're going to get Wright and LaRose signed. So there's actually, I don't think there's any way we're signing Keystov anyway. We're just going to have to tender him a qualifying offer and trade him to someone. We might have to make some trades to unload some cap as well. JT Miller has signed. Wright is signed. Very nice. Okay, so we are down to 9 mil. Now remember, we want to save enough cap for a goaltender, a new goaltender in free agency, should one be out there that we really want. Signing Burakovsky would put a real wrench into that. So I think we're just going to release Burakovsky right now. He's been great for us, but it's time to move on for him, unfortunately, with that kind of salary. Atkinson, I think we're going to tender. Same thing for Naslund. LaRose, I think it might take 5.75, honestly, with the 6 years. But I'm going to try 5.5 first, see what he says about that. But it's just because of the fact that he doesn't want an extension that's going to make this a little tricky for LaRose. As far as Strachan goes, could we get him for under 1 mil? That'd be nice. I'll give you $900,000 for 2 years. Ah, okay. LaRose has signed. Very nice. And Strachan has not. Okay, so I was not expecting LaRose to sign for 5.5. We might have been able to go less, to be honest, but I just wanted to make sure, especially since he didn't want an extension, that he is under our control before free agency starts. So Strachan will give you, let's go 1 mil for Strachan. Are there any UFAs left? I don't believe so. No, there are not. We are just left with Naslund, Atkinson, Keystov, and Strachan. And remember, we are going to be tendering Naslund and Atkinson on the last day. Same with Keystov. So we're really just worried about Strachan at this point. Does he sign? No, he does not. Okay. It's looking like we're going to have to tender him as well. I'll go 1.1. I'm not going any higher than that for a goaltender who hasn't even played in the NHL yet. What does he say? He renews. Okay, very nice. Keystov, qualify you. Naslund, qualify you. And Atkinson, qualify you. So now that should be everything. Just going to double check here, and it looks like we do indeed have everything covered. So let us get into July 1st and see what is out there. So goaltender-wise, there's not much. There's Nedeljkovic, who's an 82 overall, and he's asking for 5 mil. What are his past numbers looking like? A little too inconsistent for my liking. He's got some 800s in there. What about playoffs? Not great. Not great. The 1 year he's in the playoffs, he played 2 games with Winnipeg and a 904. So as far as players we have signed right now, we have Strachan and Olczyk as our goaltenders. So no matter what, we have to sign a goaltender, whether that's getting Keystov back or just getting someone out of free agency or out of a trade. Defensively, you have Goddard, Dundas, Dumba, Lambos, Fleury, Merkley, and Malak and Keystov, the other Keystov. Overall-wise, we're set for defense, but I think I still want to make some changes, especially if we, intend on getting a different goaltender out of a trade possibly. And forward-wise, you have Marner, Wright, Plekanec, Nieuwendyk, Waugh, LaRose, Messier, Frederick, Miller, De La Rose. So this right here is 8, 9, 10. We need a couple of forwards. We'll actually get Naslund and Atkinson unsigned. So if we sign them, then we're set forward-wise. But again, I want to try at least to build some more chemistry. We have our hands full for us this offseason. First and foremost, we're going to see if there are any goaltenders on the trade block. I know it's not common, but still, may as well look around. And even if they're not on the trade block, maybe we could offer a team something they can't refuse, because our goaltender situation right now is not favorable. So Boston is currently a rebuilder, and their goaltender, Connor Hellebuyck, is 35 years of age. Maybe they'd be willing to trade him away, but what does the rest of their roster look like here? They have Jones and Provorov, and then Carlo, and then a bunch of 70s after that on defense. What about forwards? You have Pasternak and Borgstrom, and then Manjapane. Oh, Hellebuyck might be a really good candidate to trade for, because Boston is not looking in the greatest shape here. I mean, they have a couple of prospect goaltenders there in Hewitt and Imanen, but after that, and then they also have Jones, who's 33, however, and Provorov's 31, Everyone after that, not the greatest on defense, and it doesn't look like they have too many good prospects here either. And then forward-wise, you have Pasternak, who's 32, Borgstrom, who's 30, and then Mangiapane drops down to Mangiapane at 82, and it doesn't look like they have too many good prospects on the forecourt either. So I think, honestly, Boston and Hellebuyck may be a great trade here to make. So what's Hellebuyck's stats looking like? Pretty solid. I don't like that one season right there with a 901, but everything else is looking pretty good. Playoff stats? This past year, not great. 875. But for the most part, pretty solid. So I think the simulation started here, right? So at 862 that one year, 916, 915, 888, 904, 875. We don't know what kind of teams he was on for that, though. Hellebuyck's definitely a good option. He's a good option. We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to look around every team, but that's definitely a trade that would make sense for both teams for sure. There's Thatcher Demko as well on Chicago, who he's got some okay stats, not great, but definitely seen worse in this game. And you know what? Honestly, he's got some pretty good playoff stats. Liking that. And then, not to mention, Chicago also has Hulse, a rookie goaltender up and coming, who could probably take Demko's place. What's the rest of their team looking like? Could they use any prospects, sort of like Boston? They have Bachquist, and then Coughlin, Dunn. Yeah, defensive core is looking pretty weak. What about forwards? They have DeBrincat, Doc, and Strome, and then Goose, Sissons. Yeah, Chicago's looking pretty weak as well. Demko and Hellebuyck are definitely looking like potential trade candidates here. Now, of course, their salaries are kind of a bit much, but what I'm hoping we can do is give up enough prospects to get their salary cut in half, basically, with the retained salary feature. Actually, I don't think we checked the salary of Hellebuyck. Yeah, he's making almost the same as what Demko's making. So either way, I think we're going to have to try to retain salary, whether it's Demko or Hellebuyck or someone else. But for goaltenders like these, yeah, we're going to have to retain some salary for sure. So I've gone through all the teams now, and Boston and Chicago make the most sense to trade with, not only because of how their team currently is with being rebuilders and all, but the fact that their goaltenders are not only old, but they're also still good. So that's what's important here. There were some other goaltenders who caught my eye, but none of them have quite had the stats of Demko or of Hellebuyck. So it's going to be one of these two. I believe Hellebuyck has less trade value than Demko, so we could get him for cheaper. However, I think Demko has the better playoff stats, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he definitely has the better playoff stats. Even with Vancouver, he had a 923, 907, 906, 924, 916, and 924 here with Chicago. And then as we take a look at Boston, once again with Hellebuyck, and his regular season stats aren't bad, but playoff stats, yeah. I think I would prefer Demko. So obviously, that's a lot of salary. We're going to absolutely need to retain 50% of his salary here. Maybe like 40%, but I don't know. I think we have to retain all 50% here. Even with that, we're not leaving ourselves much space cap-wise. So I think we're going to have to do all 50% here for Demko. Now, who would be giving up the other way? Keystov would make sense to go the other way, right? Because goaltender. And they would get another young goaltender back who could potentially compete with Hulse for a spot. But here's the thing, Keystov's already proven to have not the greatest numbers so far on his career, right? So, this looks like it would go through, but in real life, I doubt this would go through. Just on the basis that Keystov doesn't have much experience, and in the experience he does have, he's been kind of shaky. And Demko, a proven goaltender who, yes, has a big salary, but he's a proven consistent goaltender. That wouldn't work. So we have to add something more to Chicago's side to make this work. Now, they were basically missing prospects for every position, right? So we have quite a few options here as far as giving them some of our prospects. There's Eastwood, there's Rissmiller, there's Markkanen. We have plenty of options to give them. And I think I want to give them at least one defenseman, at least one forward. So for defensemen, I honestly think we should give them Malak, just because we're getting a proven goaltender back. And you know what? I don't think Malak would get the chance to play anyway, not only given the fact that he's 77 overall. I mean, he might grow in the offseason and become an 80 overall or higher, but I don't think he's going to get the chance, even if that does happen. So we're going to get Malak on here. I want to give them a pretty good deal for Thatcher Demko. Eastwood, he's a 72 overall, but 21 years of age. Maybe Atkinson, since we can't really sign him anyway. He didn't want to re-sign. He didn't have the greatest year last year. He didn't even play last year for us, so that's another reason to trade this guy. Yeah, I think Atkinson can go the other way as well. So Kistov, Malak, Atkinson, I want to make this really worth their while, and potentially a pick as well. You know what? Let's keep the Kistovs together. I'll throw in his brother in this his supposed brother in this trade as well. So Kistov, Malak, and Atkinson. And then you know what? Again, this is probably overextending, but I want to make sure they get a good deal out of this. So I'll throw in a second round pick as well for this year. So Kistov, Malak, Atkinson, Kistov, and a second for Thatcher Demko at half his salary. Proposed trade. Very nice. All right. Okay, so I've spent the past 25 to 30 minutes looking around for trades that we can make to try to get some chemistry going, because the way I see it, we have way too many playmakers, at least as far as player type goes. We have Marner, we have Wright, Plekanec, Nieuwendyk, who else? Waugh, Messier. All of those guys are playmakers as far as their player types go. So what we need to do, I think, to get some chemistry going, we need to get some power forwards. We don't have any power forwards in the top 6 or even in the top 9, I don't think. And we also need to get a sniper. So what we're going to do, I think we also need to make a couple trades on defense, because there's just way too much. There's so much salary being eaten up by our defensive core. And what my plan for the defensive core is this year is Dundas and Dumba in the first pair. And then Goddard will be with one of the guys we trade for. And then Merkley will be with someone out of free agency. So that means we're going to be trading Carson Lambos and the captain, Hayden Fleury. And as far as the playmaker situation goes, I think we need to trade Quentin Messier, because we just have way too many playmaking centers. We have Wright, we have Waugh, all those guys. We have too many of the same players. And I would rather keep Rodrigo Nieuwendyk, as he's up to an 87 overall. And he's also much better as far as defense. He's a lot more physical. His takeaway to giveaway ratio is better than Messier's. So I think Messier is the odd one out here. He had some clutch goals for us, particularly in the a couple of clutch goals in the playoffs, but I think he's the odd man out here, and he needs to be traded for someone else who can actually provide us with some chemistry. So the first trade that we need to make, and we need to make this trade first because it involves dumping off quite a bit of salary, and that is going to involve Fleury and Lambos. They will both be going to the Nashville Predators, who want both of them, and it's not going to be for defensemen because Nashville is pretty much lacking on defensemen here. They have Fabro, but not much after that. They have Jeremy Waugh, I believe that is. Not much defensively here. So that's why we're giving them Fleury and Lambos. In exchange, we will be getting one of their RFAs, Hector Murphy. He is a power forward that we so desperately need. His offensive awareness isn't really up there. It's at an 84. It's decent, but it's not great. However, his shooting category and his physical category are what I'm looking at here. 94 is almost across the board on his shooting category. His puck skills aren't bad either. High 80s and low 90s there. And his physical category, 91 body checking. We don't have anyone like this on our current roster. So I feel this guy is a necessity to get. So if we could just get Murphy for Fleury and Lambos straight up, that would be ideal if we don't have to retain any salary. Fleury, you done us well, bud, as the captain, but we need to make some changes, and you're one of the odd men out. Same thing for Carson Lambos. He had some decent growth under us, but we desperately need some changes here. So you'll notice that Murphy actually does not have a contract right now, so that's why we're dumping off so much cap in order to get him, because I have a feeling he's going to ask for quite a bit. He's an 85 overall. I would imagine he'll ask for somewhere around $6 million, I'm going to guess. So Florian Lambos for Murphy from the Nashville Predators, proposed trade rejected. Okay. We're sending them two things that they want in Florian Lambos, but it's just Murphy. They don't want to give him up, technically, so his trade value is higher than it actually is. And look at all the guys that Nashville has, right? They have two franchise players in Louis and Yandel. Next year, this year, now they have to sign Yandel, the 95 overall. You got to imagine they're going to want to sign that. And not only that, they have Louis, Tolvanen, Forsberg. They have so much money tied up into those guys, money that we can't afford to take. So Murphy is the logical choice for them to give up in order to sign their star in Ted Yandel. Of course, they do have a lot of salary cap. However, they're going to need to spend that cap on defense, which they desperately need, which we are giving them in the form of Florian Lambos. So let's give them something else here. Let's give them, what do they really, I guess they really need defense. Do they need a goaltender? Not really. Yeah, let's give them a defensive prospect here. I will give you Kessel and Johnson. Does that work? Fleury, Lambos, Kessel, and Johnson, 4 defensemen for Hector Murphy. Proposed trade, too far off still. Sheesh. I'd be willing to give up a first for Murphy. We got to overextend here. If we really want Murphy. Proposed trade, wow, too far off. I'll give you Naslund and another first. I know this is massively overextending, but we desperately need a power forward. Desperately. And this is last season anyway, so we may as well. Proposed trade. There it is. Trade accepted. Okay. That was a lot more than I initially intended to give up for Murphy, but you know what? We got the power forward on board now, so that's really what I care about. And the next trade we are going to be making is with the Buffalo Sabres. We are going to be trading, as I pointed out earlier, Quentin Messier, as we have way too many playmakers on this team. So let's get him on the trade block there. And coming the other way to your Salt Lake City Lakers will be Victor Olofsson, the defenseman Brady Appleby. He's an offensive defenseman. I'm hoping he's going to play with Stuart Goddard. So Olofsson, Appleby, and I want to try to squeeze a first in there. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, though, just because we're also going to have to retain 50% of the Olofsson salary. So obviously we're giving up quite the young stud there in Messier, but we just have way too many playmaker-type players. So this is a trade I feel needs to happen. So Messier for Olofsson at 50% of his salary, Appleby, and a first. Also do know Appleby does not have a contract either, so we're going to have to give him a contract as well. Proposed trade, rejected. Okay. So it looks like they'll be willing to accept it. It's just they don't want to retain 50% of Olofsson's salary, which we absolutely need them to. So I think here we're going to have to give something else up. What are they weak on? Do they have a weakness in like defensive prospects or something? It seems so, especially since we're taking Appleby from them. So we may as well include another one of our defensive prospects. Sure, Kessel. So Messier and Kessel for Olofsson at 50% of his salary, and Appleby and a first. Proposed trade accepted. There you go. So now when you take a look at our contracts, we now have $8 million cap space. I'm hoping that's going to be enough. I don't know if it is. And if it isn't, we're definitely going to have to make one more move that I don't have planned right now. But I'm hoping I'm hoping this all works out. So view contracts. I don't know why I backed out of that. We're going to go to RFAs and get Murphy and Appleby signed. So how much does Murphy want? 5.5. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Appleby? Ugh, that's a bit rough. I'll try to get Murphy down to 4.7. I just want to see if he accepts. We have to save as much money as possible here. And Appleby, I'll try to take you down to 4.5. We're just going to sign a couple of real cheap fourth liners. I mean, under 1 mil. Let's try to get Adrian Kempe here. He wants under 1 mil as an 82 overall. So I think that would be a nice fit on our fourth line. Should we get him? 1 mil for 1 year. And Anthony Beauvillier. He wants 1 year for 1 mil. I'll give him 1.1 just to make sure he signs with us. And we are unfortunately going to have to trade the likes of Frederick and De La Rose. Almost clicked on LaRose there because I was thinking De La Rose, but got him mixed up for a second, I suppose. That would not have been good. So we're going to have to trade these two in order to get the two that we just approached in free agency, as well as to clear up some cap for Murphy and Appleby. So we'll just trade these two to a hopeful. So let's just say Montreal, Frederic and De La Rose to Montreal for, let's go a second and a third. We could probably get a second and a third for Frederic and De La Rose. Proposed trade accepted. And one more free agent we're actually going after is Adam Larson. He only wants 1.8 as an 81 overall defensive defenseman. All right, so hopefully we have the salary cap for all those guys. We're going to go ahead a few days at a time, up to the 5th, and see what happens. Larson signed. Kempe signed. Beauvillier signed. Appleby rejects to Carolina, Pajot and a third, and to Edmonton, Barker, a second, and Schumacher. Murphy accepts our offer. Very nice. So I believe we just have to sign Appleby now. Where does that leave us with the salary? 5.4. Okay, good. That should be enough. That should be enough for Appleby. Let's just give him what he wants here, because his asking price is probably the maximum. Actually, no. Okay, let's go a little bit less. Let's go 4.85 for 5 years. We're really pushing the cap. And there he is. Brady Appleby is on board. So I believe that's all we're doing in this free agency. I would imagine that's the most moves we've made in quite a while in one offseason. So now as we take a look at our roster, we're probably looking much different here. We're just going to have to roll with Strachan as our backup because we have basically no money left. We have 1.5 in cap space. And Demko, hopefully he could get it done. And then on defense, you have Goddard, Dundas, Dumba, Appleby, Merkley, and Larson. And at forward, you have Marner, Wright, Plekanec, Nieuwendyk, Murphy, Olofsson, Waugh, LaRose, Kempe, Miller, Beauvillier, and then Clark, I guess, is an extra. So hopefully that all works out, because if it doesn't, then series over. Well, I guess series over no matter what at the end of this year, but I would like the opportunity at the Cup, obviously. Actually, one more thing we need to do is sign a goalie coach and an associate coach for the AHL. So I'll just do that right now, and then we will make our way, finally, to the preseason of year number 10. We have a trade to Pittsburgh, Johansson, and a third, and to Washington, Oliver Wahlstrom. All right, so we are now in preseason. Let's check out the gross of everyone, and then we're going to end it off. It has been a long recording. So here we go. Goaltenders, Demko, an 86, and Strachan, an 80. Defensemen, you have Goddard, 89, Dundas, 87, Dumba, 84, Appleby, 83, Merkley, 82, Larson, 80. That is our defensive core going into this year. And forwards, Wright and Marner are 90s. Plekanec is an 89, Nieuwendyk, 88. Olofsson, 85, Murphy and LaRose and Waugh, 85, Kempe, 82, Miller, 80, Beauvillier, 80, Clark, 77, Zarnik, 76, Eastwood, 73. Let's send Eastwood and Zarnik down. So it looks like we're going to need a 12th forward. That might have to be Clark, to be honest, because once again, we do not have much. Let's take a brief look at the lines just to see what the computers come up with. Then we'll end it off here. So Plekanec, Wright, and Marner. I think Marner is going to be on the second line. I might even move Wright down to the second line, depending on the chemistry. I think Plekanec could be on the first line because he's got a great scheme fit for line one. Then you have Nieuwendyk, Waugh, Olofsson, LaRose, Beauvillier, Murphy, Miller, Kempe, and Clark. Yeah, Murphy's definitely going to go. I think he's going to go, honestly, on the first line. Or the second line. He has great line fit there. I don't know. I'm going to play with the lines myself, just see what works. And with that being said, I'll end things off here. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next one when we start year number 10.